Hi, welcome to Lesson 4. This lesson we're going to be skipping around a little bit, so I'm going to go into internal dialogue, and the other part of internal dialogue would be describing the moment. So for your child, for your baby, when you're doing something, you're going to be speaking out loud, slowly, articulating each word correctly, and describing what you're thinking and what you're doing. So, for example, if I have a pen, I would say, "Oh, I'm picking up the pen." And when you want to emphasize something that you're holding, you would show it to your baby or your toddler, and you would say what it is. For a color, you would point to it and say, "Orange." For something that you're doing as you're performing it, for a verb, you would say what it is. So if you're walking, you'd say walking, and then you demonstrate as you're walking somewhere. So the reason that comes up is the other part of that internal dialogue and the talking is that you're establishing sort of a form or a default type of behavior so that your baby, your toddler, your child, as they start to internalize what their actions are or what they're thinking, they will be able to have the words that go along with the actions that you're performing. So while you're talking to your baby, you will look at them and ask questions. You will also wait a minute because they're not going to answer at the early ages anyway. That's not the point. The point is you are going to set up the pattern where you will look at them and ask a question and then wait. And then because we already know they're not going to answer because they're too young, you would answer the question. Very simple questions, by the way. So as they get older, you would ask more complex questions, but the simple ones are to get them with the expectation that when there's a important communication coming on, that you will be looking at them and talking. And for part of that, the example in my life is at one point, when my son was very young, I'd put him in his car seat, buckle him all up, make sure everything was the way it was supposed to be, and then I'd say, "Are you okay?" And he didn't answer because he wasn't talking yet. And after a couple of months of putting him in the car seat, tightening him down, putting the seatbelt on, making sure he's okay, and he has some little toy and everything, I'd say, "You okay?" And one time, so, which is why I remember it the first time, he looked at me and he's like, "Yeah." That just, makes you feel good when you finally understand that they know that you've been talking to them this whole time and communicating with them, and now they have the ability to respond and be part of that communication. And he had the look of pride on his face that he knew he was talking to me. So it was a good, happy moment there. One of the examples of dialogue is that you'll want to find those situations where you might have a dialogue with somebody else in front of your baby or your toddler or your child. And you'll both be talking slowly and clearly and not too complex, but you'll show that these are the types of interactions and dialogues that people have, so that your child will be able to pick up the statement and then the response. They won't necessarily understand the words at first, but the stress on the words and the setting and all of these things, they get built up over time the same way that if we go to some foreign country and we can observe other people interacting, we can get a very good idea of what's going on after a while without understanding any of the words, because you pick up all the details of the setting and the actions and the movements and the inflections in the voice and the certain gestures. And all of that goes in to build more of the associated triggers and memories that help us with communication. So that's the end of that lesson, and I hope it helps you out. And I'll be trying to edit this down a little, but my editing skills aren't real good. So take care.